Hey everyone, I'm Liz, and today I'm going to show you how to make one of these Gunter the Penguins from Adventure Time. Some of the things that you're going to need to make this tutorial are some black yarn for the body and the wings, some white yarn for the front of the body, some yellow yarn for his beak and his feet, and some fiber fill to stuff it all with. And you're going to also need a pair of scissors to cut with, a yarn needle to sew in your ends, and I used a pair of white brads for his eyes. And of course, you're going to need a crochet hook. I'm using a size B. The first thing I'm going to make is the eyes, so I'm going to start by making a magic circle. So I'm going to loop the yarn around my fingers twice. And I'm going to take those two loops between my two fingers and insert my hook into the middle of those two loops. Pull up a loop and then chain one and chain one more. And now that's going to count as my first stitch, so now I'm going to stitch 5 more single crochets inside the middle of those loops. Now I've finished with those single crochets, so I'm going to close the loops. In order to do that, I'm going to pull the tail just a little bit. And now the smaller loop, I'm going to pull closed from the end closest to the tail until that other loop closes. And then I'm going to pull the tail until that loop closes. So now I've got my magic circle finished, so in order to finish the rest of the eye, I'm going to add a row of slip stitches all the way around. You don't have to do this, but I like the way it looks, so I'm just going to do one row of slip stitches on every stitch. So I finished with my row of slip stitches, so I'm just going to cut off my yarn right here, pull that stitch closed, and now as you can see the circle is done, and I'm just going to do that one more time to make the second eye. So I finished making the second eye, and the first one I've added the pupil to, and I've done that using one of these white brads. So I'm just going to add the second eye to the second pupil to the second eye, and I'm going to do that on the side that was the front where I was working it before. So I'm going to make sure that I'm placing the pupil where the slip stitches are front facing. And then I'm just going to slip the bottom of the brad straight through the middle of the magic circle and push it through that back side. Now that I have both eyes, I'm going to put them aside for now, and then I'm going to make the beak. So I have my yellow yarn. I'm going to make a slip knot. And off of this slip knot, I'm going to chain 5. Now in the third chain from the hook, I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, and then I'm going to slip stitch. Then in the next space, I'm going to do the same thing. And in the next, same thing. And in the next, one more slip. Okay, so now that I've gotten back to the bottom, I'm going to chain 4. And now in the third chain from the hook, I'm going to reinsert my hook, pull up a loop, and slip stitch. And now I'm going to slip stitch back down to that bottom corner. Now I'm going to cut off my yarn. And then I'm going to fold that down in the middle. So this is going to be what the beak looks like. So I'm going to put that aside for now, and then I'm going to make the feet. So I'm going to start with a magic circle. And I'm just going to do a regular magic circle and not a double one this time. So I'm going to pull up a loop and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now in the third chain from the hook, I'm going to pull up a loop and slip stitch. In the next space, do the same thing. And once I get down to the bottom of the loop, I'm going to single crochet. And then I'm going to chain 3. And now I'm going to slip stitch again into that third chain. And then slip stitch one more time into the next spot. And now I'm going to single crochet again on that loop. And chain 3 more. And now once again, slip stitch in that third chain. And then again in the next. And then slip stitch to that loop. Now I'm going to close that loop by just pulling the tail. And then to finish, I'm just going to slip stitch onto the opposite side. And then I'm going to cut this off. Now I just have to sew in one of the ends and use the longer of the end to sew on the foot when I'm finished. And now I'm going to make the second foot. So now I've finished making both feet and sewing in the end, and I have a tail to sew them on, but I'm going to put these aside for now. And then I'm going to make the white part of the body. So the first thing I'm going to do is to make a slip knot. I'm going to insert my hook, and then I'm going to chain 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now in the fourth chain from the hook, I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, and single crochet. And now I'm going to single crochet until I get to the slip knot. Okay, so now I'm at the slip knot. I'm going to chain 1 to get up to the next row and turn the work around, and then in the second stitch from my chain, I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, and single crochet. And now I'm going to single crochet until I get to the end. And now I'm going to chain up to get to the next row, turn the work around, and continue to crochet in the second stitch. So I ended up going on until the work was about 2¼ inches long, which was about 14 rows for me. So I'm going to continue, and now I'm just going to outline the sides of the piece. So I'm going to add another stitch into this corner, and then I'm going to add one stitch into every row until I get down to that bottom corner. So now I've gotten to this this other corner. I'm going to add another stitch to this corner, and then I'm going to continue crocheting on the bottom, and I'm going to tie in this tail as I go. Now at this corner I'm going to add another stitch, and then I'm going to continue and outline this other side. Now that I've gotten to the end and encircled the entire piece, I'm going to now do a row of slip stitches all the way around the trim. So I'm going to continue going around and slip stitching. So I've gone all the way around and added slip stitches. So now I'm just going to chain one, cut away my yarn, and now this white part is done. So now I need to add on the face onto this white part. So I'm going to take the eyes that I made before, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put them into this top corner on either side. And I want to put them in a place that there's a little bit of white showing on this side, but also so that there's going to be a little bit of white between each eye. So as soon as I've decided where on the face I want to place the black eyes, I'm going to turn it to the back where I can see the backings of those mini brads, and I'm just going to open those up so that the brads are fastened. Now the eyes are roughly on, and now I just need to take my needle and sew the eyes onto the white part using the tails of the black. So first I'm going to put my needle straight through to the back, and then I'm going to bring it back out through that edge of the black. And then I'm going to go back in to the white part, to the back, and then back out through the black part. And I'm going to continue this until I can until I have all of my eye parts fastened and all of the tails are sewn in. So I finished attaching the eyes and sewing in all the ends. Now I have to attach the beak. So I have it here threaded on my needle. So I'm going to make sure that I attach it so that the longer set of the beak is on top. So that would be the side that I did 5 stitches. And then I'm going to line it up with the front of the face. And then I'm going to place my needle through just like that. And then I'm going to place my needle into that opposite corner of the beak. And go back toward the back of the beak. And now I'm just going to place my needle through the very top where I want the middle of the beak to line up. And then I'm going to place it at the very top of the beak. And through a few stitches. Okay, and now I'm just going to sew this beak to the back of the work. And now I've finished sewing on the beak, and as you can see, all of the tails are sewn to the back now.